They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck. What's up, everybody? Here we are. And well, it's just me and Drew today. Drew looking wild. Got that? What is that? Like a faux hawk or just a real high? And
a real
mohawk. Yeah,
it's a real mohawk.
Mohawk. Okay.
It's
What
not
makes a faux hawk?
When you like blend it, so it like gets
Okay.
it gets a little like it's longer here and it gets a little longer, and then you
Mhm.
spike the middle, so your hair's not cut into a faux hawk, but you kind of style it into one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but this is I striped this son bitch.
Yeah, no, it does hit. Back to that in a second. I'll let everybody know. Yeah, Cho's not here. He's not going to be here because a couple weeks ago he said he needed to set a standard time for recording the podcast because that would hit for him, and we agreed. And then he immediately scheduled something else on his own chosen standard time, so he now just can't be here. So, pretty Raven's never ceased.
I mean,
but
things come up unexpectedly. Sometimes you don't expect yourself to plan something right at the right time that you ask for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sure. So you've got a mohawk, and that's because you went to Bonnaroo? You just got back from Bonnaroo.
I was tired of my hair, and I wanted to shave it, and I was like, I'll just do this for Bonnaroo and then shave it. But I kind of like it. Although I did get told I look like Chuck Liddell earlier, and Carmen didn't know who that was. It was on the Gravy Baby podcast, so she looked him up, and she goes, if somebody told me I look like him, I'd be upset.
Really?
I guess he's ugly. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know what Chuck Liddell looks like? I mean,
I do, but it's like I just know he looks like. I know he has this look, beard, mohawk.
Yeah.
The fact that he's ugly or not.
Right. I guess I just think he looks like a supreme hard ass because that's like what he was back. I was in my early 20s in my bro period in college. It was also like the ascendancy of the UFC. I got really into it for a while, and Chuck Liddell was like hot shit at that time. So like, I associate him with badassery, and I don't think he's like a heinously ugly motherfucker. He just looks like a bit of an animal, I suppose. But
well, Carmen said he looks like someone who got punched in the face for a living.
Yeah, and that that checks out.
Well, one of my friends did tell me I looked scary,
right,
with this look.
Yeah,
there is a square jaw thing going on that even I'm not used to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do look like I'm angrier than I am now, but that I needed this look when I was angrier.
Yes, well, you know how there's like skinheads that are like fervently anti-Nazi, but there's also not neo-Nazi skinheads and stuff, and they didn't hit for each other, obviously. Yep. I feel like there's like a much lower grade version of that with dudes with that haircut. Like, I feel like there's a lot of guys at UFC 572 or whichever one is coming up soon in Vegas cheering Trump coming out the tunnel and whatnot, who look kind of exactly like you look right now.
Yeah. I looked like a cop most of the time, depending on how long my hair got before. So I'm used to that. I mean, and obviously Corn Dog is a legend in the thread. If I put on a hat, and we've talked about this before, but for people who don't know, if I put on a hat, I look like I coached JV football in my hometown and was at January 6th.
Yes.
So this is just like a worse and better version of that at the same time.
Yeah, it's like so
the only way I could not look like that is grow my hair out, but my hair doesn't grow out well. I don't have great hair. I get tired of fucking fooling with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's what happened here. I've been growing it out. I liked it for a little while, and then it was starting to get annoying, and I was like, fuck this, I'm shaving it. And then I shave it, and I like it, and everyone tells me I look like a racist, and I grow my hair back out again, thus starting the cycle over.
Yeah, hats definitely have a massive impact, because I feel like thinking about, like, you can look January 6th. Mark looks very alpha male-y, objectively. And when he puts on a hat, it almost gets better because he's like chrome dome with that big beard and ripped. I feel like a hat mitigates some of his alpha douchebaggery lookingness. And then Corey, if he's dressed appropriately, he looks just like like a wife slapping Alabama man or whatever. He looks like a different
Gypsy Speedboat top hit.
Yes, but and I think I've got, like, I don't sound the way, like, I have to like country myself up or it's even more discordant for people because my glasses and my hair and whatnot. Like,
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
you have
Like
the opposite thing going
I
on.
do have the opposite thing going on. Yeah.
You're like California dreamy, Northern
Right.
California dreamy.
Yeah. Right. So, and I don't know which one would, hit harder. I feel like it definitely plays into, the fraudulent accusations from people because I just don't look the way I sound. But what the hell you want me to do?
That you do like as a whole in a certain context. But yeah, that's funny. I hadn't thought about that. How you got the like people are calling you a fraud. That dude ain't really redneck, and then people are looking at me like, so can this guy read? Or,
Yeah. So how
but not
was
with this.
So how was Bonnaroo? Have you missed one like ever or recently? I feel like you
The
stayed
last one,
going.
Andy. When's the last Bonnaroo we missed that wasn't canceled? It's been it's been a few years now. Andy only did one day this year, and I only did two. I filmed a Don't Tell set on Friday. Shout out to the people who came out. It was rad to see you guys. And then I red-eyed in. It's been a while since I missed one that wasn't canceled. I took Brian, uh, friend of the pod. Everybody knows we talk about Brian, my childhood best friend, in like 2016 or 17. And he had been reluctant to go with me for years. And he had such a good time that he bought an RV the next year to go and to make sure his wife would come. She has some heart issues, so she can't really camp. And I stayed in the RV with him, and I was done. Like I'll never not go in an RV.
Right. Okay.
But I've definitely been every year except for the canceled year since then.
Yeah. Well, that makes. I thought that you had access to an RV, and that definitely makes all the difference in the world to me. Because I only ever, I went 5 years in a row in my 20s, and we tent camping every single year, and that's all my only real experience with it. And when I think about it, I'm like, it ain't no motherfucking way I could do that at in my late 30s or whatever. But if you got an RV and there's like air conditioning in there and stuff, that's pretty different.
Yeah, and it's also like, unlike being in my 20s, I think partially because of who you are and your personality in your 20s, who most people are. Also because going was such a much bigger deal financially.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like a lot. It was less money back then because it was cheaper, but it was more money to me. I had to like do it.
Right.
Buddy, I'll stay in that RV till I feel like fucking coming out. There's like every day there'll be a band or three. I gotta see this. Everything else is debatable. You know what I mean? It's negotiable, and that helps a lot. You know what I mean? And I just go out at night more now. I'm way more into the late night than I was when I was younger. When I was younger, I was into like sad Jason Isbell music, and I still like that. But live, I'm into a lot more lively stuff now, and that's
I
later
always
in the
loved the
evening.
late night shit, but it was like, but I had nowhere to go. There was no respite during the day. Tent camping, it's 100 degrees. So like, I mean, it was a fucking marathon. I mean, over the course of the whole weekend, I'd get like 6 hours total of sleep or something. Because we do late night, get back at 4 or 5 in the morning, and by 7 or 8 a.m., it's too hot to continue sleeping.
Right.
And then you're just up burning the fuck up all day long, dying for the sun to go down. And then it does, and then you rally. But I feel like if you rest during the day, you got more energy at night, especially as an old. And that's
and I'm an old.
I know. Like I was going to ask how many, because I remember going and seeing. There's always some old fellers there, even older than like we are now, like old, like some fucking Uncle Ronnies and stuff, or like in their 50s, 10, 15 years ago. But like, where do you demographically, how's it shake out? How old are you? What percentage is old?
I think it's mostly millennials there still. Gen Z
that
does do
makes sense.
festivals, but they do them less than millennials ever did. We did obviously we didn't invent the festival, but festival culture is a millennial thing. I think like VIP, more mistent, like Bonnaroo is aware as an entity that their main source of income is getting older, and they're doing more for that. But that was definitely an old guy. Like my friend Serena was giving me shit. She wanted me to come to the pit with her for this act. This woman named Chapel Roan. Chapel Roan is Taylor Swift for women who've actually been through something. She's a very talented Missouri queer pop star. She wears camouflage and loves drag queens. She rules. And I don't like a lot of pop, but I do really dig her. And she was like, come. And I was like, I can't, like, I just don't, it's hot. I'm going to stand in the back if I make it. And she's like, no, you'll love it. You'll be the only straight guy in the pit. And I'm like, yeah, but Serena, I'm 40. That's not appealing. I'm married. Like, that's creepy. I'm going to be the creepy 40-year-old. And she goes, you were the creepy 40-year-old at Diplo last night. And I said, Serena, Diplo was the creepy 40-year-old at Diplo last night. All his fans are 40. The difference is tomorrow it'll all be 24-year-olds. Well, I think that carries throughout Bonnaroo. Like, I didn't feel like the old guy except at a few shows.
Right.
I was not
you
the
went
old
to
guy.
the old guy shows, which is where all the other old guys went, and you didn't go to the youngin shows where all the youngins were. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
So, I mean, any wild shit happen?
I mean, I didn't. Well, Andy, he asked me if any wild shit happened. Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to tell that or not. She responded exactly how I needed to if I was going to tell that story. I'll build to that. One of the coolest parts of the night, speaking of this fucking haircut and being a poser, your buddy Porno.
Yep.
He was there with his girlfriend and her dad.
Yeah.
And we texted each other, and I was only at Bonnaroo for 2 days. And by the way, I'm glad of that. That might be my new tradition. He's like, you want to go to Idols? Because we were comparing like our lists, and Idols was my top band, and he said it was his top band. And I met him there, and first of all, they're just such a great rock band. It was such a fun time. I took his, as you know, very tiny girlfriend into the pit. She wanted somebody to go with her, and I was like, I want to fucking go. We had an awesome. We only stayed for like 2 songs. I think she was a little overwhelmed after a couple. Like, it's hot. I'm not a big person. I was overwhelmed because it's hot and I was on drugs. So like I had to get out of there. Like my body temp was actually starting to like get it. But it was genuinely just such a fun, great show. It was one of my favorite, if not my favorite rock shows maybe ever.
So see, okay, like, you sent some screen. You and him were both texting me separately about meeting up and going to that. And like, you know, I got early onset Papa. Don't be keeping up with new music. How long has this band been? First of all, what was the
About 12 years.
They got on 12 years?
But their last album, you know, has found its way into like they've leveled up recently. Like they did a song with LCD Sound System. They were in one of the tents, that tent.
At what time of day?
1 in the morning.
Okay, I mean that's pretty good spot. That's like, what is that, like mid-level on the lineup type situation? Okay, so that's where
it was opposite this group Parcels, which I call ketamine music, which is like disco but slow, and it was very much like Bonnaroo was doing like a lot of people were mad about that conflict because they're both great bands, but I think Bonnaroo did a good job of like, but depending on where you're at in your life and emotionally and physically, you're going to choose one over. You're going to go lay on a blanket, or you're going to go, you know, risk your life.
So Idols, they're like a British actual rock band, right?
Post-punk. Yeah.
People. Okay. I mean, I like post-punk. I'm pretty sure.
I'll send you some songs. You do.
Right. Yeah. Because I, lament the death of rock music. I think all the time, I'm like, there has to, because sometimes I'll listen to like my old rock, not like classic rock, but like rock from my 20s and shit. I'll listen to those, like whatever, Gaslight Anthem and shit like that. And I'll be like, there have to be rock bands out there right now. And I feel like I've kind of come up empty before. There's like a huge one that I think, what's it called? Bring Me the Horizon. Are they like Imagine Dragons or something like that? Or what?
I don't know them. I'll check them out.
I'm not saying that they hit. I don't know that they hit. I just know that they're really big. Like they're really big and they're like an actual band. Yeah. But they may not be legit. I don't know.
Well, speaking of our old bands, Cage the Elephant played the main stage right before Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I had never seen him, and it was everything I wanted it to be.
Oh yeah, I've seen them a few times, but not in a long time. But
I cried
hardcore.
God, it was so good. There's a band called Milky Chance there that all my friends were going to, and it was during the day, and I expected to be tired, and I wasn't, so I went with them. Check them out. Like it was good. They don't rock hard. They're more like Cage, late Cage, but I think we'd have to get into the nuances of the current state of the music industry. I think a few things are killing rock and roll, but I think one of them is the way the music industry works in terms of making it now. I mean, even people who make it on their own, and there's really cool stories of people making it out of nowhere, like Zach Bryan. posting on YouTube, becoming a phenomenon. But even those people get sucked up into the machine, and rock band is not as viable even as country. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like it's just not it's not as common, so there's less people popping up.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at this.
I
So
mean, Idol's most popular song on Spotify, the most streamed one, is a song they did with LCD Sound System. It's a
right.
rock song, but that's with a dance electronic band. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not in it enough right now to be able to talk intelligently about all that. But you're not wrong that rock is fading from at least like the top lines of the posters. You know.
Did you watch the Chili Peppers?
I did. I think they phoned it in, dude.
Really?
They played some of 2 or 3 hits up front. Then to me, that sounded like new music in the middle, which I don't blame you. It's your show. And then Kiedis left the stage for 3 songs. They just did instrumental,
Huh.
and the crowd sang like popular songs. It was very odd.
I saw them there one of the last times I went. It's like 10 years ago or something, 10 or 11 years ago. And I was upset at the beginning for sure because I had bought some Molly, but it was just baby powder in a fucking capsule or something. Like it was just bunk. It was bullshit, which that's the first time that ever happened to me at Bonnaroo. And I was real pissed off about that. Like I was sitting back there as it was starting, realizing,
man, what a time to be alive
case.
where we could just buy Molly off a person, and the biggest fear was it would be baby powder.
Yeah, right. And I was sitting there pumped at first, but then gradually realizing like I got fucked, and so I was mad about it. And I still ended up enjoying them because as I recall, and that was 10, 11 years, they changed shit up all the time. But the show I saw, I remember having that thing happen where I'm listening thinking like, holy shit, I fucking forgot or did not realize just how many goddamn songs they have. Because I felt like every single song of their like 2-hour set list was something that I knew and hit for me. And then and they didn't do that instrument. Like I don't remember Kiedis leaving the stage or none of that either. So
I was hyped for that
when I saw them.
I was hyped for that experience because I experienced that re-listening to them gearing up for Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
It was like, got down to the 9th, 10th song. I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot about this one. They did not. They opened with hits and they closed with hits. Me and my friends left to get a good spot at the next show. And as we walked away, they were playing, is it called Water Under the Bridge?
It's just called Under the Bridge.
Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
And dude, you're walking by people, everyone's singing it. It's like the closest thing to a religious experience. You know what I mean? Like that's my God. Like everyone's feeling the same thing. That was really cool. But because I had high hopes, I was a little disappointed in the Chili Peppers.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. So what's this thing you had to get permission to tell me or something?
Oh yeah. What's the wildest thing I saw at Bonnaroo? The wildest thing I saw at Bonnaroo, I think, was my wife getting out her milk-filled titties because we weren't with our baby that were physically hurting her and just squirting them all over our friends while 22-year-olds around us reacted everywhere from, oh my God, to, holy shit, bro, did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty fucking hardcore. I do know that you gotta do something. It hurt. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you have to do something.
Yeah. She was like expressing them into the ground at first. Yeah. And then we were with some wild people and some people were on drugs and they were like, squirt it on me, mama. And so she started to because that's my wife. But then she started squirting on strangers with permission, specifically 3 girls. And that was hilarious.
They're probably thinking they're getting like, I don't know, some kind of aura or something out of that. You know what I mean? It's got some
I'm certain of it, dude. And I'm certain there are people who are horrified right now hearing this. And I don't particularly care. But I was saying to Andy, I was like, listen, you are going to end up on the front page of Trashy Boner Reddit if you don't stop doing this. Like, you will be videoed if you haven't already been.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that's wild to think about too. Like, even when I was going, so that was like, I don't know, it was like 2009 to 2008 to 2013 or something like that. And even back then you didn't automatically assume that everybody was filming everything all the time. You know what I mean? Even back then. I feel like now you have to assume that. Like any kind of wild shit, you got to imagine someone is recording it. And
well, the saddest thing, the worst thing, and I didn't see this thing. I don't know why I'm saying thank God with them, but I was reading on Reddit. A guy fell out at Where in the Woods, which is a new thing, at the end, like late night Sunday. And this guy was helping him. This dude that wrote the Reddit post was like, while I was helping him, my boyfriend was having to scream at people to stop fucking videoing us. So dude's season out, and people are recording that. So like, there's definitely a nefariousness to that too. You know, like there's, come on, man, live in the moment. We don't have to film everything. But then there's also like, hey, dude, mind your fucking business here. You know?
Yeah. You just reminded me, I know I've told this story before, but I feel like it's been a very, very long time, so I'm just going to do it again. Somebody seizing at a music festival. One of my memories from Bonnaroo one year was at the main stage, real high, like the type of high that I can't believe I ever even used to get now. Like the prospect of it terrifies me. But like,
right.
But at the time was fine and was having a good time so first we're all just standing there. And all of a sudden, I feel this like kind of commotion just like beside me on the ground. I don't know what it is. And I look down, and laying on the ground is a girl like on her back, and then another girl over the top of her. You know, I can't tell what she's doing, and I can't see that girl's face. So I don't know what's happening. But what she's doing is she's like shaky or like, what, you know, what's wrong or whatever. But I can't tell that because I'm seeing it from the back. I was like, what's going on there? And then like, I shift over and I see that the girl on the bottom is having some kind of seizure or something. Her eyes roll back in her head, and her friend's like freaking out trying to help her. And I was like, what the? And I'm real high, and that freaks me out. But then the girl who was helping the first girl, she like shoots up, and her eyes go back in her head, and she falls over, and she starts having a seizure too. So like for a second, I thought we were being like, you know, bio bombed or for a second. Like for a second, I was like, oh my God, am I about to start having a seizure? Like I thought it was the start of some like apocalyptic movie or something where like a seizure starts in the middle and spread like 15 seconds later, 30,000 people are all laid over seizing, and I'm right by patient zero or something. Like I really thought, I was like, holy shit, I'm about to have a seizure. We're all about to have a seizure. But they just took the same thing and took the same amount of it. And same thing happened. And that's all. And, you know, and by the way, people, whatever, medics, whatever you call them, came out there and got them, and they were, you know, I'm sure they were fine. I don't think it was that big of a deal, but yeah, it like, I genuinely thought that there was like weaponized seizure virus in the air or something, and that I was next.
So funny, dude. So funny. But hanging out with Porno, that show, going back and forth from the pit to him, he wouldn't go into the pit. And then also, is it weird to say everyone else's name? Anyway, his girlfriend's dad, I won't say his name or his girlfriend's name in case they don't want me to. He didn't enjoy Idols.
Yeah.
He apparently had loved John Batiste. You know, like he was like, that was worth the trip alone. He came over from a different country.
I was about to say, is he? Well, I guess we won't say that either.
He's from. I mean, I don't think that
Europe,
matters.
right? Or is he from the other? Okay,
Europe.
Yeah.
So
both her parents are from different corners of the world. He's the one
right.
from somewhere in Europe. Yeah. All right.
But he was just like enjoying it, you know. And I kept coming back and forth to them. Porno was like in tears half the time, telling me how much he loved me and you and Idols, and it was just phenomenal. A weekend for me full of mostly like EDM shows or sitting in a blanket watching Jason Isbell. This was the one that I was like, I didn't feel like the old guy. I felt fucking great the whole time. And then also I just really dig what they do and what they say. I mean, we were moshing, talking about fuck the king, free Palestine, fuck Trump, fuck Biden. I mean, it was just like a real cathartic, you know, if you have to get sober, get sober. I mean, you know, it's like punk got old and it aged kind of well in this particular case. They didn't turn into like racists or Gavin McGinnis types, you know.
Right. Yeah. Does hit.
Which happens to some punks.
I know. I guess that's a thing as old as time, because it's like a lot of hippies from the 60s turned into like the boomer assholes of the 80s and the Reagan era and stuff like that. And a lot of like Gen X types are going through the same thing now. And I'm sure like I don't
punks and Gen X, I think it's like they were attracted to like, I'll do whatever I want aspect of punk. Yeah. And so when like woke culture tried to make them be a better human, they reacted as if they were being oppressed. Right. Like the same gear kicked in the government became fuck these kids telling me about pronouns. With hippies, I think that the hippie movement got bigger than it actually was. I think like the actual pure heart free love thing was here. And then all around it was people who just were like, these people are hot and they're fucking and they're doing drugs.
Yes, so like some like, I don't know, investment banker's son who's like college age or whatever, just like grew his hair out and went and did some hippie shit for a while just to do drugs. And
it made me believe that he believed it.
Right. Yeah.
But really, it was just
came
like,
back
this
home
is
afterwards and took a job there and it was over from that point. Yeah. Is that going to happen to millennials? Is that already? I know obviously there's plenty of millennials that are already crazy and MAGA-y and stuff, but is that like shift gonna happen?
Yeah, some version of it.
Like what do you think's the driving factor with us?
Well, I think
how much things don't hit.
I don't think it'll be as big for us because that's where that whole thing of like, you get conservative as you age.
Yes.
And it's like, well, because you have a lot to lose.
Right, exactly. And
and then also the world shifts away from you. You know, it shifts further left. Well, America, I don't think is shifting further left. I think it's splitting.
Yeah.
So like instead of having a new Overton window, it's like now there's two Overton windows. We see that with Gen Z. If people who pay attention to Gen Z, they are far more left if you're in that bubble. If you're in the right, they're far more right than our rights. Like right-wing Gen Z is far more right-wing than millennials. So I don't think millennials will have quite as big of an experience with that because the next generation won't go too far for us. Some of them will, but then we'll look at the other side of the next generation and we'll be like, I guess we'll just stay here, you know?
But yeah, there's an argument I've seen made many times. I think we've talked about it on here before, but yeah, you alluded to it. That's like over the generations, people get more conservative as they get older because they save up money and buy a house and have a family and all this stuff. So it's like, they want to pay less in taxes because they're protecting their own whatever nest egg and all that shit. And you just like grow up, and that means having these, like you said, having things to lose. And for millennials, generally, that just ain't happened. Like those things have not happened. So like, why would you shift in that direction? As far as like the younger generation going too far, I feel like for a lot, I mean, I don't know, my experience, like when we were young, like we, we lost being able to say the word retarded or whatever.
It's back, baby.
Like like those are the things that, and then there's like also, I think but I've met plenty of like big fans of mine and ours and stuff who will still say that and act that way. And a lot of my friends. And so I don't think that the
world's not passing us by
made everyone go, well, fuck everything about this. I'm going to listen to Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or I don't know, whoever the fuck it is now.
I mean, and it did some people. I mean, anti-woke culture absolutely captured some people's hearts and minds. And that'll happen to more and more millennials, I suppose, as Gen Z tries to go more woke. But that's the thing. Gen Z's not really. Gen Z's leftism is going in a route I like a little bit better. It seems to be going in two ways. One, there is a lot more like labeling. Like they're even more into that than us. They're breaking it down. I'm a demi-pansec, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but then also a lot of it has to do with capitalism. And so that might be one way we swing back, where we're like conservative because these fucking kids are trying to tax us to death and make everybody drive the same car.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they'll be successful. I think they'll actually just get murdered on college campuses, and we'll be like, well, goddamn, I guess we don't have to swing back. Sorry, go ahead.
There was another thing I wanted to ask you. I mean, y'all, but Corey and here, you about this week, because I saw this thing on Reddit. I feel like you see stories like this every now and then. Or I can't think of another specific example, but it's not foreign. This type of thing pops up every now and then. I don't know who generates it, who has the idea that this person should get glazed, as the kids say, or jacked off or whatever. But every now and then you'll see an article or something about like a billionaire, a super rich person, right? Sometimes it's about them giving a bunch of their money away or whatever. But I'm specifically talking about, I saw an article this week that got some traction about the founder of IKEA. So a Swedish billionaire who's, I'm pretty sure he's long dead now, and he was like think he was like a Nazi sympathizer and shit back in the day in the 40s.
As soon as I saw the way that he was getting glazed, I knew he had to be a bad person.
But the whole thrust of the thing was like, this guy was worth billions of dollars, and he, he drove like a 92 Astro van or whatever it was every day. He got the same, he ate like fast food. He lived very, very, very frugally. And it's always presented as like, isn't that admirable? And I don't know what you think, but my opinion of it is, because also, as far as I could tell, he did not like then take his whole fortune and just give it away. It just went to his kids or his heirs or whatever. And it's like, if you don't give it all away, if you just pass it on to your shitty rich kids and then treat it like, then I think that's like work. I would rather a billionaire live like a billionaire if they're going to keep all their money than like hoard it like a dragon without even like doing anything with, like, you know what I mean? It's like, now it's like completely worthless. It's literally just sitting in your dragon cave, not doing nothing for nobody. Whereas if you were out globe trotting and buying islands and shit, I don't know, you're giving money to fucking Mai Tai bartenders and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Stimulating economies.
Some whore in Thailand deserved a bonus.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I just think it's weird.
I'm with you. I saw that thing that you're talking about, and I like kind of dove into it just enough to see if he'd like been giving it all away.
Right.
Even if he had, my first response was, well, this dude's like autistic or something. This dude has something going on. And I don't mean that like as an insulting way. I just mean like, this dude needed his habits so bad. He needed his routine so badly that he couldn't even do something out of the ordinary, even though he had all the power in the world. And that's again, I'm not trying to like, I don't want anyone to think I'm now disparaging people with autism. I'm just saying I saw that and I thought, well, that's a personality thing. But then he didn't give it away, didn't do anything with it. And I was like, nah, fuck this guy, man. Fuck him forever. And like you said, it's almost worse because I don't believe in like trickle down economics being anything worth a fuck policy wise.
Right.
But it does help a small microcosm of people. Elon Musk having to pay off some girl he molested, at least her kids are going to get to go to college.
Yeah.
Like, did you see what I'm saying?
No, yeah, of course.
I read that story and I was like, so other than IKEA, what did this dude give the world?
Right.
And what did he experience and get from the world? And the fact, and the idea, it's at best neutral. The idea that it's admirable, to me, is a sign of how like almost fascist our culture is becoming, where it's like, isn't it admirable not to enjoy yourself?
Right.
No.
Right.
Like, compared to the white privilege thing, and I worked on doing a joke about this, and I could never figure out how to get it to work. Maybe I should go back to it. The best thing you do with white privilege, obviously, is like try to change things. To me, the second best thing you can do is enjoy the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Call a cop fat to his face. I used to do it all the time.
Yep, you sure did.
But if I got it, live through me.
Right.
I'll go live.
Yeah. They also said that he did all that typical rich guy shit too, of like, I don't even know how it all works, but like headquartering IKEA in tax haven places, like all that, like loophole gaming the system stuff to keep from paying taxes and all that. Like he did all that shit. He just like didn't drive a Bentley or get driven around in a Rolls Royce. Or,
he was a Scrooge. He was afraid to spend his money.
Right.
Like that's what did it for him was the numbers going up. I'm assuming, but I think it's okay to assume bad shit about billionaires, even if you don't have any hardcore evidence they were horrible people. Not giving away a lot of your money when you have that much, to me, there's nothing a person can do to counteract that.
Right.
They are overall a bad person to me, especially not eat at McDonald's. To assign morality to those types of choices, one way or the other, like I'm saying, fuck that guy because he didn't spread his money around.
Right.
If it made him happy to eat at McDonald's, then by all means go ahead. To assign morality to like that basic of a choice, well, what's the word we're allowed to say now again?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just like, and by the way, I'm kidding. I'm trying not to say that word. I don't want to get back to toxic 20-year-old Drew. But the way we assign morality now to like so many things, that's almost like a counter response to the woke culture, I think. Like anti-wokes they're now playing our game. You know what I mean? They did it with Morgan Wallen. They anti-woke that motherfucker right to the top of the charts.
Right.
Where it was almost like they almost made it. It's weird. They almost made it a morally good thing that he said the N-word.
Right. But what are you saying
Almost
about
like,
with these
see,
rich
he's a
people?
regular guy.
What do you?
Do
How
what?
you mean they're doing that with these like frugal rich people and stuff? Because I
They're
feel like
saying that it was admirable that he
right.
went to McDonald's, and it's neutral. He just went to. What's
Yeah.
admirable about that?
I feel like it's a I don't know like it's adjacent to their whole obsession. You know, like the whole like bootstrap hustle culture shit where it's like the idea that anyone can be rich and successful. You just have to be smart with your money and work very hard.
So
And it's
you think that's the implication is that he didn't blow his money? That's how IKEA was successful?
I mean, I think that that's like the underlying thing that makes people think that hits is because they're like, see,
I
this is
didn't
what
think
you
of
got to
that because
do.
it's dumber than what I thought it was. That is IKEA work because he didn't go to steakhouses is
Right.
so stupid.
Right. But I think they think like, see, if I do that now because I'm
Right.
disciplined and I'm a hard worker and all this stuff, one day I'll be that billionaire or whatever because that's what you got to do. You got to do that from the beginning. Yeah. And then if you're really, you really whatever change your habits and your lifestyle, then of course you're going to keep doing that. I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating here. I just
right.
feel
No,
like
I thought it was like be humble and good things will happen to you, which is adjacent to that. That's even dumber. It's like that's just basic math.
right.
Like if you add up, if you live like we'll call it a Morgan County baller. You know, I'm not talking about flying all over the world, but just like you stay in a hotel when you want to. $500,000 a year is probably all you can spend. That company's worth.
I mean,
Can you look it up?
Of billions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's with a B. And if you compare those two numbers percentage wise, it's literally a drop in the bucket.
$21 billion. I honestly kind of thought it'd be more than that, frankly. But yeah, $21 billion.
So I just feel like I think that guy's a bad person because I found out he hoarded all his money. The fact that he ate somewhere in like out of the ordinary for a rich person means nothing.
Right.
One way or the other.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
It does make me a little mad that he didn't enjoy it.
Right.
But I'm not going to like spin that into like an article.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've thought, that used to, I don't know exactly what changed, but and I'm not saying they were ever like it did not hit to be a peasant or a serf or anybody like that. And it's not like society didn't used to be stratified, but like there's a lot of examples of, and I brought this up on here before, but it was also a very long time ago. Like the rich people, like back in the day, were like culturally given the impression that they had an obligation to like do something with it.
The Rockefellers, man.
And that was part of it. You got to build some schools or you got to do something with it. And that used to be a big part of it for a long time. And then I don't know exactly where or what happened, but that's just like completely gone now. I mean, some of them still do that, but now they're like jerked off as the exception. Like, you believe how much of a great guy, like Bill Gates. Bill Gates is like, maybe we should do something with it. And people are like, what a fucking firebrand genius thought leader this guy is. And it's like, that used to be the standard, but like, greed is good and all that shit. I don't know.
I think two things. One, I think rich people, and people who wanted to service them in order to get money, did a concerted effort to get rid of that, to like change culture. It's immoral to give handouts. Right? Don't you know that
shit, right? Like,
right. And that's done wonders in America for the rich class in terms of getting them out of building schools, but also in terms of people looking up to them. I mean, again, some of the worst people in America are considered good people simply because they're successful. I remember a time where we were suspicious of almost anyone successful in business because it was like a good for you, but I mean, people just screw over. And now it's like screwing over people is almost virtuistic. It's wild. And then the second thing that I'll say, and I don't mean to bust your bubble about Bill Gates, and maybe this was always going on. Maybe this is what it always was. Maybe philanthropy's always just been to serve the rich. Rockefeller was able to have a lot of goodwill. A lot of people in the Rockefeller camp got positions of power because he was considered this nice, wonderful philanthropist, a lot of things he wanted to do in the city and get out of in the city as far as taxes, it was easy for him to make that happen because he was beloved. So maybe it's always been about that. But with Gates as an example, almost everywhere in Africa, Bill Gates is doing work and putting in a lot of money. They have a resource that his company and tech companies in general need.
Right.
And he gets to, through his organizations, dictate policy there. So it's like a really dark, even the exceptions to the rule now, there's often like a dark underpinning to it. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think what changed mostly is our culture now like considers being successful, even if you're an asshole, a virtue, like a moral virtue. And they've almost spun like philanthropy into like something that's wrong and ruins people.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't hit.
Don't hit. Happy Father's Day.
Oh yeah. Back at you. Yeah, I texted y'all this, but I was just messing around the house doing stuff. I don't remember exactly, but like rearranging the kitchen or something. And I had Alexa playing a playlist of mine that I've had for years, which is like kind of my classic rock playlist, but it's not like your, WKAM classic rock. It's like Leonard Skinner and Elton John and David Bowie and all that type of stuff that hit the band, stuff that hits for me. And it was mostly smashing because I hadn't listened to any of that music in a long time. And then at one point it was on shuffle, and again, mostly hitting. And then at one point, this song by Warren Zevon, there's a lot of Warren Zevon on there, a song from his final album that he wrote while he was passing away of cancer called Keep Me in Your Heart for a While, which is a really great song, came on shuffle. And I told you, I was like, I might as well have told Alexa to set a "Your Dad is Dead" reminder for Father's Day, because it just wrecked me. I don't know, like, I just didn't. And that's all, like I told you,
setting a reminder, your dad is dead, Father's Day.
Yeah.
Are you sure about this?
It's also like I told you, it's like I made that playlist. So it's like I blew myself up by stepping on a mine that I buried or whatever. But yeah, but other than that, it was mostly fine. Another Raven thing that happened on a totally opposite end of the spectrum, but I think it'll hit for you because we know how I am with sports fandoms or whatever. Earlier last week, we decided, like, well, we'll go to a Dodgers game for Father's Day. And I looked up, are the Dodgers at home? They were playing a 3-game stretch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against the Kansas City Royals. Looked at the game on Father's Day. Not surprisingly, that's a popular choice. So the tickets are more expensive, and the choices for seating were not as good. Also, it was in the middle of the day. They were playing the Royals on Saturday at nighttime, and the tickets were cheaper and there were better seats. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go on Saturday and just call that Father's Day because it's better option in multiple ways. And everybody was cool with that. So we went on Saturday, and Shohei Ohtani, the $70 million man, right? In that game, he went 0 for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals in the 5th or 6th inning hit a grand slam to go up 5-2. Then they scored 2 more runs and ended up winning 7-2. It wasn't even close. Ohtani didn't do shit. Freddie Freeman didn't do shit. The game on Father's Day that we almost but did not go to, Ohtani got 2 homers. Him and Freddie Freeman went back-to-back with home runs. They shut out the Royals and won 3-0. And it was like trending on Twitter that they had hit so hard. So you
have quite a hot streak.
Yeah, I know. So that's also pretty Raven. It's funny because people that don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a running joke, except it doesn't feel like a joke to me, that I have terrible luck with sports fandom. All my teams don't hit, but also it's like if I go to the game, they're guaranteed to lose. If I'm going to go but then don't go, it's phenomenal. Shit like that always happens. But I had thought previously, silly me, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. The Dodgers are so good. People hate the Dodgers, and I get it because they're really good, and they're like the West Coast Yankees. They buy all the best players, and they hit pretty hard. So when I moved to LA without a baseball team, and I was like, well, I'm going to be a Dodgers fan. I was like, this will hit, though, in spite of my own personal sports related Ravens, this will be just fine. And I really thought that was working because this past Saturday was like the 4th or 5th Dodgers game I've ever been to since I moved, since I said, hey, I'm a Dodgers fan. And I'd never seen them lose before. And then Saturday that happened. And then they followed it up Sunday with that. So I think, the Ravens finally caught on.
It took you a while to change the culture, Trae, but you finally done it.
Finally did it.
Well, it was my first Father's Day. Andy left me a card at Bonnaroo that I found when she left. So I was just crying in an RV, like a dad. It was very sweet. But obviously, other than that, he's a babe. I got to plug in. That's why I moved. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't know. Maybe you'll have it differently, but my sons are tweens or middle schoolers, and they don't, they had no idea it was fun. Even though they've been reminded by like Father's Day's coming up or whatever, like, even though we like went to a baseball game for Father's Day the night before, still on Sunday, they were like, it's what? Like, oh, okay. Like they had no idea. So,
But what about sports fandom? I thought you were going to connect it to being a dad. Did I miss that? Your kids don't give a shit, do they?
No, the only thing, no. I just meant
I almost thought you were going to be like, they were like, Dad, we get it. We like sports now.
No, the only thing I have to say about sports fandom and fatherhood for me personally is because of my own personal experience that we just described, I have done nothing to like try to get my sons into like watching sports or enjoying it, because from my perspective, I genuinely feel like they will be better off that way. I'll watch. I don't even try to get them to watch football games with me or nothing like that, because I'm like, you don't need this. And I get so mad at myself so often for how I react emotionally to the results of things that I have nothing to do with. And I'm just like, y'all don't need this shit in your life. I was listening to an interview with somebody else who's like from Boston, who's around my age, and he has a kid, and he was talking about how he can't wait to like get his kid into, Patriots. Oh, he's going to be a Pats fan, all this stuff. And I was just thinking about that. I was like, yeah, why wouldn't that guy think that? Like that guy and his dad shared
last night.
All these great memories of, Tom Brady and the Patriots dynasty and all that shit. And
the Celtics just won an 18th.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes, right. Yes. It's not just the Patriots. Yeah. The Celtics just won their 18th championship. Yeah. If you're from Boston, I get it, but I'm from fucking Tennessee and also happen to like the Raiders. So like, I just, I'm like, if they end up getting into sports, I'm all for it. And then, so with baseball, like kind of drugged them to the first couple of games, but then they liked it. Now they like going to a game. They still have no interest in watching it on TV, but they do like going to a baseball game. And when I saw that happening again, because it's the Dodgers, I was like, well, this is okay. Like I can also baseball, they play a million fucking games. So it's like, you know what I mean? They're going to lose a lot, even when they have a great year. It's a little different. But yeah, with the other sports, I just don't. If they end up getting into it, great. That's fine. I'll watch it with them and enjoy it with them. But I'm not doing anything to influence that, because I think they'll be happier people without it in their life. That's
you
just
just
how I
touched
feel
on
about
something that our fans may not give a shit about, but I find it very interesting, and I think it goes against baseball with younger people. I was watching my niece play softball. Her team went undefeated and ended up winning the tournament. They had some close calls in some games. It's wild how baseball has a rule, and the rule makes sense. And we can explain the rule for people who don't know anything about sports. But it has a rule in place that on certain game days prevents your best player from playing. That rule it's about pitches. And it's to protect the players, and maybe MLB doesn't even have the rule. It's just that nobody can pitch that many games back to back.
Yeah.
But in like the high school levels and below, my niece, like you can't pitch games back to back on certain days because it would hurt a kid's arm. It's a good rule. But it is wild that there's like by rule, if sometimes your most dominant player cannot play. I mean, imagine you brought up Tom Brady. Even if it was just 1 or 2 games a year, late in the year, Tom Brady wasn't allowed to play.
Right.
That's like conceptually that's wild.
It is wild, but that's why they have to like focus so much on building a bullpen and a good roster of pitchers and stuff. And, I mean, I don't think you literally could do that in football because they can't even find 32 quarterbacks who are good enough to do it. So you couldn't have a stable of good quarterbacks. So it's a good thing they don't need to, but like in baseball, because of that, that's why they have to take all that into account when they, build their team or even look at their schedule. They have to think like that team's harder than this team, so we need to save this dude for that game and not pitching before. They got to think about all that shit. But yeah, when I was younger, I always felt like pitchers were bitches or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
he's
It's
just
like, what the fuck? You fucking play once every 3 games or something, 4 or 5 games. Like what?
You don't
what is
even
that
hit
bullshit?
most of you.
Yeah, but I guess it really wrecks their shit if they don't do that. It's like apparently it's really bad for an arm throwing that hard that often.
Yeah, even doing what they do destroys their arms all the time.
It's like explosive kinetic energy that you're.
Did you see that story of that 40-year-old trying to make it in the league? He was a hotshot recruit who got hurt and then I think got addicted to some stuff and fell apart. And then he left sports behind, went to do whatever else, and he started throwing again almost as therapeutically, and he was hitting 103.
No.
And he was like, well, they gave him a fucking contract, dude. Like a short one. I don't even know
what team. Okay.
It might have been the Royals.
It's like a fucking Kevin Costner movie or something.
I'm pretty sure they've already sold the rights to it.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. I saw it on TikTok. And if I'm misquoting, you guys know how I am. If I don't remember part of a story, I just make it up and then convince myself it's true. If it was an addiction and I just cast that demon on a guy, I'm sorry. Type 38 or 39-year-old rookie pitcher.
Okay. Old rookie pitcher, MLB. God damn it.
Jamie, look that up.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, let me take a chance to plug my Nashville date, which is next Wednesday. What is that, the 26th? It is.
I don't know. Yeah. Yes, it is.
June 26th, I'm in Nashville at Zany's headlining. Fucking dude, we're going to have, speaking of quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes is coming. He's going to do a set. We're going to have Kevin Hart. He's doing a set. We're going to let Bill Cosby do a set, but we're going to heckle him. So you guys come through. We got a lot of special guests. It's going to be a good time.
I don't know. I ain't finding it yet.
You can't find it?
No, it could be that he got a contract and he's in he's at the AAA or something when he ain't been called up to the show yet or something. I don't know. But
no, well, I know he at least pitched in the game. I'm pretty sure he pitched, but also it might be a year old. Dude, whatever. If people are interested, they can go find it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going to be a slightly shorter episode this week for reasons that it don't matter. It's just going to be. So we're going to wrap it up. Drew already gave his plugs. I'm this week, depending on when you hear this, I got shows in Orange County and then Oxnard, and then on Sunday I'm in San Jose, and then after that a weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and a bunch of other places. So go to TreyCrowder.com and check it out.
Who's opening for you
in Tulsa?
No, in California.
I don't know, just whoever they get. I didn't.
Oh, okay. Nobody. I thought it might be Carmen. I thought people might be interested in that.
I mean, that would be fine with me. I just haven't,
Yeah. My bad.
Generally speaking, if people ask, I let people come to me or just let the club book them is my kind of rule of thumb for whatever reason.
I don't know how I got that in my head. I just thought it would hit for people. I was trying to help, and
Carmen has done that before, but that was like my last Hollywood tour date that I had. But anyway, listener, also check out Wekkly Skews and Puttin On Airs and Gravy Baby and all the other shit in the Skewniverse, and we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for listening to the WellRED Show. We love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew. Whoop.
Puttin on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, puttin' on airs. We collected from our love of Downton Abbey. We collected, we found out we're both so fancy. Hey, what's the difference between rednecks and royal families? Only money, cause they both have sex with family. Ew. Puttin' on airs. What other rednecks will talk about foreign affairs? Laughing so hard that we end up falling out our chairs. Sir Trae, Sir Corey, oh what a pair. High class topics with a redneck flair, oh yeah. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Okay, it's Team Squirrel or Team Trae. Oh yeah, we keeping it basic. He thinks that the squirrels at Corey's mom's house are racist. And you know squirrels live in the same place for generations. So Trae, you better count your days and you better count your blessings. Cause all the squirrels that you ran over, that you think are nameless, faceless, their families are getting together and plotting on you from the attic and basement. So even though Corey is dumb, fat, and bald, he knows how to avoid drama, don't get squirrels involved. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea.